COVID-19. Generally, this is a zoonotic disease. What is the concept of zoonotic disease? It means this virus spreads from animal to human and from human to human or from person to person. This was about the concept of zoonosis or zoonotic. Let's move to our own topic. It means coronavirus. Coronavirus, or this topic, is made from two parts. One is corona and another is virus. First, we focus on corona. What does it mean, corona? Corona stands for a crown. It is a Latin. It means this virus has a crown shape or crown shape structure. When this virus is viewed under the electron microscope, it is viewed as a crown. So, and therefore they call this virus coronavirus. Let's move to the second part of this topic. It means virus. What virus stands for? Virus stands for a poison. Actually, they are small segments of nucleic acid which are contained in a coated protein. Within this coated protein, just we have got
DNA.
RNA or DNA. Both of them are not existent in a single coat. Or in other words, virus are small particles of RNA or DNA which are included in a coated protein. Within this coated protein, just we have got RNA or DNA, but both of them are not existed together within the single coat. So, and therefore viruses are divided into two parts. One is RNA viruses and the second one DNA viruses. Generally, these viruses, for their replication and reproduction, are living in living things. The viruses, for their reproduction or replication, lives in living things. Generally, virus has different shapes. Some of them have got spherical shapes. For coronavirus, coronavirus has spherical shapes, while Ebola has a rod shape. Right now, I give you some example of the viral diseases which are caused by RNA or DNA viruses. For example, AIDS is caused by RNA viruses, and COVID-19 is caused by RNA virus. Common cold is caused by influenza virus. This influenza virus is also related to the family of coronavirus. So this is also RNA virus. Hepatitis C is also caused by RNA virus. Finally, hepatitis B is caused by DNA virus. What is caused by DNA virus? This was a brief overview about the definition of the virus, classification of the virus, replication of the virus, shape of the virus, as well as some example of viral diseases which are caused by rRNA or dRNA. Let's move to a brief overview about the coronaviruses. Coronaviruses are a large family of common viruses which infects animal and human, but they are not able to involve the animal. Remember, many cases of common cold or due to influenza viruses are also related to the family of coronaviruses. Generally, coronaviruses are divided into the 7 classes. Among of these 7 classes, 2 of them are highly pathogen, which is called SARS and MERS. Rest of them are less pathogen. Right now, let's have a brief overview about the SARS-CoV-2 and MERS-CoV-2. In last 2 decades, we have got 2 endemic cases of coronaviruses. One of them was SARS-CoV-2 and the second is MERS-CoV-12. Right now, we will have a brief overview about the SARS-CoV-2 and MERS-CoV-12, and finally our own topic, our actual disease, which is called COVID-19. First, we start from SARS-CoV-2. As the name suggests, this SARS-CoV-2 was discovered in 2002. The primary source or the primary reservoir for the virus at that time was bats. Due to some reason, these viruses are mutated in the bats and transmit from bats to the cats. It means they say civet and reconducts. So due to some reason, these viruses are mutated in the cats and then transmit from human and from human to human or from person to person. In this case, it means it's SARS-CoV-2. More than 8,000 people are infected with a mortality rate of 9.5%. Generally, this COVID-2 was an endemic case. Let's move to MERS COVID-2. As the name suggests, this COVID-2 was discovered in 2012. Let's move to MERS COVID-12. This MERS COVID-12 was discovered in 2012. The primary source, like COVID-2, still was bats. Again, this virus are mutated due to some reason in the bats, and from bats transmit to camel. Due to some reason, these viruses are again mutated in the camel and transmit to the human. And from human to human or from person to person. In this case, in MERS-CoV-2, more than 2,000 people are infected with a mortality rate of 35%. Let's move to influenza virus or common cold. Common cold is caused by influenza virus. In cases of influenza virus, 1 million people are infected with a mortality rate of 0.2 million. Let's come to our actual topic. It means COVID-19. This COVID-19 for the first time was discovered in December 2019 in Wuhan, China, in a special supermarket, which was Med Supermarket, and they sell vertebrate and invertebrate meats. The primary reservoir here, in this case, it means in COVID-19, like 2 other cases, was bats. Due to some reason, again, these viruses are mutated in the bats. And from bats, they transmit to intermediate host, which was called pangolins. Due to some reason, again, these viruses are mutated in the pangolin and transmit to the human. And from human to human, and from person to person, finally it gets worldwide. In this case, it means in COVID-19. In this case, it means COVID-19. The global death rate, which has announced by WHO in December 12, 2020, the mortality rate was 1,602,509 millions. This is confirmed case. It was reported by WHO, but unformed case, even they say more than 2 million people or even 3 million people have got the mortality. Unconfirmed case says about the 3 million reports of death due to COVID-19. But this is unconfirmed cases. Generally and in short, in this COVID-19, millions of people are infected with 1 million mortality. So this was about the COVID-19. Let's discuss about some epidemiological terms. This epidemiological terms should be started from reproductive number, or another name reproductive ratio, or another name reproductive rate. 3 of them are the same. They are looking different, but they are giving the same concept or same meanings. Reproductive number. What is the reproductive number? Reproductive number represents the spirituality rate or transmission rate of the infections. Generally, this reproductive number represents or shows the potential of contagiousness of the disease. The reproductive number varies from infection to infection. For example, for COVID-19, 2.2, for common cold, 5, for smallpox, 6, and for measles, 8 to 19. Here, measles has got the highest number. So the potential of contagiousness of measles is more than the COVID-2, common cold, smallpox. This was about the reproductive number. Reproductive number in patients with COVID-19 represent or shows exponential growth, or it shows exponential rise. What does it mean? When one person in COVID-19 is infected, this first person infects 3 other persons, and this 3 other person infects 9 other persons, and likewise this 9 person infects 27 and 81. So they represent the exponential growth or exponential rise. This was about the reproductive number. let me discuss about the series interval. This is also another epidemiological term. What does it mean, the series interval? By giving of this example, we will know about the concept of the series interval. For example, this is the first person, and this is the second person, and this is the third person. The onset of the symptoms of first person to the onset of the symptoms of second person gets 3 days. From onset of the symptoms of second person to the onset of the symptoms of the third person also get 3 days. Generally, series interval represents the number of the sick people per times. By drawing of this graph, we will know more about the concept of the series interval. This is the y-axis, and this is the x-axis. The y-axis represents the number of the sick people, and the x-axis represents the time duration during which the people are getting sick. Once this virus outbreaks in a new place or in a new city, this graph or the curve represents or shows a skyrocket. Why it represents or shows a skyrocket? Because many people are getting sick all at once. Why many people are getting sick all at once? Because of lack of information about the prevention of virus, as well as unawareness about the virus itself. In such a case, and during this skyrocket, our healthcare system is overwhelmed. Why our healthcare system is overwhelmed? Because many people are getting sick all at once, and all of them refer or they go to the hospital. In such a case, that is why our healthcare system is overwhelmed, and they are not able to cover this huge number of the people all at once. Even in such a case, the medical staff becomes tired. By the passing of the time, this skyrocket gradually becomes flat. And when again this virus outbreaks in a new place or in a new city, this skyrocket represents, this graph represents the skyrocket. Why it represents the skyrocket? Again, because many people are getting sick all at once. Why many people are getting sick all at once? Because of lack of information about the prevention of the virus, as well as unawareness about the virus itself. So in such a case, our healthcare system is overwhelmed, and they are not able to cover again this huge number of the peoples. So, and therefore the medical staff becomes tired. When again this virus outbreaks in a new place or in a new city, again this graph represents skyrocket. Why it represents the skyrocket? Because many people are getting sick all at once. Why many people are getting sick all at once? Because of lack of information about the prevention of virus, as well as unawareness about the virus itself. In such a case, our healthcare system again is overwhelmed, and they are not able to cover these huge number of the people which are getting sick all at once. So by passing of the time, again this skyrocket or this curve again becomes flat. So this cycle may be continued again and again. Finally, this COVID-19 becomes worldwide, and the pandemic has been announced by WHO or World Health Organization in December 2019. This was about the series interval. Let's discuss about another epidemiological term, which shows about the ways of transmission or routes of transmission. Generally, there are 3 ways of transmission are existed for coronaviruses. The first one is airborne. This virus remains in the air for 3 hours and travels up to 6 feet or 2 meters. Generally, this virus is transmitted by respiratory droplets from asymptomatic or symptomatic patient to non-infected person, of course by coughing and sneezing. So the first phase of transmission, which is very important, that is respiratory droplets. The second phase of transmission, contacts. This virus contacts over some surfaces for 8 hours or even for more than 8 hours, up to 24 hours. When we touch to these surfaces which have already infected by this virus, we will get this virus easily from these surfaces. And when we touch to our face, especially to our T-zone, we will inoculate this virus in our mucosal membrane of the eye, nasal cavity, as well as oral cavity. This was about the ways of contacts, about the the way was of about the contacts, transmissions by contacts. The third one, fecal oral route, and the last one, the baby will get this virus during delivery from her mother. This was about the ways of the final ways. Yes, we have talked already. After the ways of transmission, we'll be discussing about the incubation period. What is incubation period? Incubation period represents the time duration during which an infection is entering into the body and then they develop symptoms. Incubation period for COVID-19 varies from 2 to 14 days. And finally, and the upper limit, they say 25 days. This was about the incubation period. Let me discuss about the impact of this virus about our life. This virus has 3 impacts about our life. The first about our health. There is no need to discuss because all of us are a doctor and we have seen a lot of cases of acute respiratory distress syndrome or non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. So we know about the impact of this virus about our life. The second impact about our economy. We have seen a lot of cases of economy because big manufacturers, small shops, small restaurants, all of them are closed. So and therefore most people becomes very poor and their income becomes less. That is why the impact of the economy. What about the travels? Yes, because of lockdown, especially flight, there is quite restrictions about the flight, and even right now they make some rule and regulatory for the flight. So we have also know the effect of this virus about the travel. So generally the virus have 3 impacts: about the health, about the economy, and about the travels. Finally, we'll be discussing about those abbreviations that we have discussed during this lecture. The first one was SARS. What does it mean, SARS? S stands for severe, A stands for acute, R stands for respiratory, S for syndrome. Or in other words, or severe acute respiratory distress syndromes. The second thing, MERS. What does it mean, MERS? M stands for Middle East, R stands for respiratory, S stands for syndrome. Middle East respiratory distress syndromes. So the third one, ARDS. What does it mean, ARDS? Adult respiratory distress syndromes. And another one, the last one is COVID-2. For example, COVID, CO stands for corona, VI stands for viral, D stands for disease, 2 stands for 2002, coronavirus 2002, or MERS COVID 12. M stands for Middle East, R stands for respiratory, S stands for syndrome or distress syndromes. The second one is COVID-2, we have the COVID-2. CO stands for corona, VI stands for the virus, D stands for the... Right now, COV-2, what does it mean? CV2, COV-2. Yes, CV2, this is also, say, CV2. C stands for corona, V stands for the virus, D. This is a very small abbreviation, especially coronavirus 2002. This was about some abbreviations that we have discussed during discussion of the coronaviruses. This was about today's lecture, and we will continue our lecture that finally we will get from this opportunity to learn more things, especially about the infection. The second thing that we know about the anatomy of the lungs, and another opportunity that we know about the mechanism by which ARDS or adult respiratory distress syndrome is produced, and another opportunity we know about the mechanism by which the shock is produced. And finally, we'll be discussing about the mechanism by which we will know about the concept of the multi-organ failure, and also we'll know about the term specific markers and non-specific markers, and we also know about some other chemical tests, and finally about the pathogenesis of this virus. This lecture includes about 10 parts. Within 10 parts, we will start from top to bottom, or from nut to bolt of coronaviruses. That was all. Thank you so much for your listening. Now, you should tell me something. What did you catch from this lecture? As I refer to Khayal Wazir. Farin?